Hi, Trapnest here. Welcome to my 28 Days Later music production course, where I will be teaching you everything you need to know to become a full-time music producer, from creating entire songs to developing your own brand and creating a business plan. During the last video, we learned what gain staging is and how to apply it to create the proper balance in the volumes of all your tracks. And today I will be showing you what panning is. If you're new to these videos, please make sure to check the other videos in this course, that way we can be in the same page. And if you like these videos, please give it a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It helps me a lot. When mixing, there are two basic controls that we will use pretty much for every single mix that we do. The first one we already learned are the volume faders that allow us to control the loudness of each track. And the second control will be the panning that allow us to move the sound on the track to either the left or the right of our stereo field. So what's the stereo field? You can think of it as this stage that is created by either your speakers or your headphones. You can move sounds to the left, or you can move sounds to the right, or you can leave sounds in the center. You can distribute the sounds in a 180-degree angle. One acceleration. When we talk about panning, moving the sound, it's not literally moving the sound, but rather it's sending more signal to either side. So I'm gonna show you with an example. Let's go to our arrangement view. Let's select the hook. Sorry, I had to take my headphones off. Feels so weird making this video with the headphones out, but you should be using headphones if you are going to work in this. Okay, let me solo the melody piano. Right now, it's panned to the center. See what happens when I move it to the left? And now to the right. When the pan is in the center, the volume levels are like this. And what the panning does is that if you move to either side, it will become something like this. Sorry, I just had to make that clear because I just learned that literally today. I always thought for all these years that I've been producing that panning was the like when you pan, you literally move the sound, but that's not the case. So the more you know, I guess. The reason why we want to pan things is to give more space to each sound. Now, one of the main problems that we have in a mix is called frequency masking. That is when you have two sounds that use the same frequency range. Frequency masking is more complicated than that, but that's all you need to know for now. Now let's move to the actual process of panning. I always like to start panning with my drums and my bass because those elements tend to stay in the center. That's because the lower the frequency range of a sound, the more space it's gonna take in the stereo field. So we usually tend to mono the bass lines or tend to mono the kicks if they are not already mono. So let's solo our drum loop for a second. And we hear three elements here. We have the kick, we have the wood block that is acting like a snare, and we have our hi-hats. Then what I'm gonna do is that during the hook, we have our second track that plays only hi-hats. So what I wanna do is create a space between the hi-hats in the loop and the hi-hats that we created. For the panning of this project, I want to use a technique that is called the LCR technique. This means that you're gonna pan your sounds either completely to the left, either completely to the right, or you're gonna do it in the center. I think that as a beginner, it's gonna be much easier to understand panning if you do it this way, and you are going to do it much more effectively. So let's do a hard pan of our hats and see what happens. Now you see that the hats, instead of being hitting all of them in the center, It's like there's this communication back and forth that's, and to me at least that sounds much more interesting than keeping everything in the center. The next element that we have to mix is our main melody. Now the problem with the main melody is that since it's also a loop, it contains multiple elements. So you see you have that kind of xylophone sound that gives a main melody, and you have that melody in the background that has a lot of reverb. I'm gonna try hard panning this to the right and see what happens. Okay, it doesn't sound too bad, but I feel like that reverb in the sound is getting completely lost. That reverb creates a really nice atmosphere in our song. So let's keep it in the center, and instead I'm going to move the melody on the piano to the right and see what happens now. Okay, that sounds much better. And now you can clearly hear the piano now, and I didn't change the volume. The only thing that I did is just moved completely to the right instead of keeping it in the center where it was fighting for the same frequency with the main melody. Since we already moved the melody piano all the way to the left, now I want to create the balance and move the harmony all the way to the left and see what happens. Okay, the last sound that is left to mix is the effect. For the effect, I can just leave it in the center since whenever it's just an element that hits every now and then. Before we move on, I just want to import a version of our project pre-panning. So whatever you did before today's video, try to export it as a WAV file, and you are gonna load into this project just so we can use as a reference to where we're coming from and where we're moving. Sometimes you may think that you're taking the right decisions for mixing, but you are actually making things worse. So it's always good to, whenever you make progress in your project, export that file and load it as a reference track into your project. I'm gonna select the hook and I'm gonna solo the reference. So you see, before panning, everything felt like really concentrated in the center. Now the song feels big, and that's exactly what we need. Next part will be to work on individual parts of the song. We have worked only on the hooks, and if we play the hooks, it's gonna sound good. But if you move to other parts, like for example the verse, now you see that we have the problem that the drums are all the way to the left. That's because those hi-hats that we panned to the left for the hook are in the same track as the drums for the verse. Easy way to solve this, just automate the panning. Right click and show automation. So I want my automation, my drums, to be all the way to the left only during the hook, and for everything else I'm just gonna keep it in the center. Basically what you're doing is you are quickly replacing the drums of the verse with the drums on the hook, and it's almost not noticeable. Another element that I want to automate is the piano on the melody piano. So right now it's sounding like this. that doesn't sound bad, but remember, for the bridge, we decided that our piano solo, it's gonna be the main element. Usually main elements you will want to be in the center because that they are gonna be like the center of attention for your song. Now, a really cool trick that Ableton has is that you can create double points. You can call it A1 and A2 if you will. And once you do that, you can drag whatever is in the center. So you drag only that part, and let's drag it to the center. So now let's see how it sounds. Okay, that sounds much better. I like that much more. Now let's just make sure that the transition to the final verse sounds okay. I'm gonna turn off the lead synth for now because we also have to pan that. Perfect. Now, the idea here is that the lead synth is following the same melody as the bridge. So the lead is gonna replace the piano melody as this main element. And now we're gonna leave the lead synth in the center and see what happens. Oh, that sounds beautiful. Okay, at this point we are pretty much done with panning. So yeah, let's just leave it at that. I'm happy with it. Let's see the before. I don't know if you can hear, but the song feels so much louder right now, even though we haven't increased the volume of the song at all. It's just because of the right distribution. It tricks our ears into thinking that because it's now a wide stereo field, it feels louder, but it's not louder. So yeah, I hope you learned a lot from this video. If you liked it, please give it a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram for more content like this, and I'll see you in the next one.